whereas the present situation, we have got only 22% of the forest, and there's a huge gap of about 10% forests to be added. So every year we are trying our level best, but the rate of this deforestation or the destruction of forests is more than what we afforest. Hence, it is the duty of every human being to plant at least one seedling in during their period and nurture it so that the trees are planted. And the benefits of the trees, we all know that a single adult tree, it's calculated that it gives oxygen worth 15 lakhs. So the plant draws all the unwanted waste, that is the wastewater, and gives out clean water from its body. It also absorbs the carbon dioxide and gives oxygen. So these two are the main essentials which are required for the existence of human life. The next is then usage of electricity. As we all know that the usage of electricity results in the usage of water and emission of tons of carbon dioxide gases. Hence, we should reduce the usage of electricity as far as possible. So this has been in practice recently, and a lot of electrical vehicles are being manufactured in the days, and over the years this will take its turn. Then we have gone for paperless also. As you all know that for paper manufacture, a lot of deforestation takes place, and paper is manufactured only through the cutting of trees. Hence, if we go paperless, then definitely the destruction of forests can be reduced, and the government has taken a step in this direction that all the things should be digitalized. Even the office procedure is being digitalized, and a lot of paper use has been reduced from the last few years. Then we need to go for recycled products, because as we all know that the recycled products can be used often. Instead, otherwise they become a hazard to the environment once again. The use of organic pesticides, as Madam in her introductory speech has told that we have to grow vegetables, our own food, and if we use these organic pesticides, definitely the health can be improved, and the chemicals which are drained out into the rivers, which are put in the field, that can be stopped, and hence unhealthy food consumption can be stopped. Then, as we all know that in these years, the plastic garbage is getting dumped off, and that has also to be controlled, because in every city, we find that a lot of plastic is being dumped by all the citizens. And even in the coastal areas, the plastic bottles, what we find, last year, we have found that in the coastal area, we have collected through the NGOs about 3 to 4 trucks of plastic waste that was dumped in the coastals. There also, even we have got a Kudremukha National Park, which is a UNESCO heritage site in our area here in Mangaluru. And every 3 months, we also go for this drive, that collecting the plastic bags and all. And we find that almost 1 truckload is being collected every 1 or 2 months, because the people they travel through these parks and they dump whatever plastic garbage or whatever eatables is present, and they throw it on the road. So these things are very harmful to the plants as well as the animals, because some of the animals, they just eat it, and we found that some animals have died due to this plastic garbage also. Hence, we need to control and just eradicate the usage of plastic as far as possible. Then segregate our waste. So this has also been implemented in these few years. We find that the waste is being segregated in all the cities, and the organic waste is being reused. So this has helped in controlling to some extent, but the problem with us is that we need a lot of awareness in this. The government has implemented the Swachh Bharat Abhiyana since 1914, and a lot of things have taken place in cleaning up the environment, but still I think we have not achieved the goal, because whatever achievement, in my perception, it may be some 30 to 40%, and there's a big gap of another 60% to be achieved by we people, because unless everybody is educated over these consequences of the environment, then definitely they have to come forward to control that. And some of the consequences we see in our days, like the earthquake, the floods, the landslides, the erratic rains, these are all the consequences of environmental damages and the climatic imbalance. Hence, I think there's a lot of awareness among the people nowadays, and a lot of NGOs have come forward. They are taking their participation in doing their best, but still it has to be propagated to the village level, because villagers are very poor and they are interested only in their day-to-day bread and butter. So with this, if we, the students and some of the NGOs, they educate the villagers and the poor people also, definitely I think in the years to come, we can achieve this goal. And I think the Best Innovation University has taken this good step that your students can also take participation in preservation of this environment. Especially, you can take your students to the best of the national parks for trekking or even viewing wildlife, so that they can inculcate that idea of preservation and conservation of forests and wildlife, that when they go out of the university, definitely they can educate the people coming around them. So with these few words, I thank once again for your patient hearing. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Prakash. Netalkar ji, you spoke from a lot of experience, sir, which you have over the years. You started by saying that only planet in the universe which has life is Earth because of the environment. Right, sir? Now, to protect the environment, we need to create an environment of care and conservation. I think that is the need of the hour. And you very beautifully, sir, you spoke about what are the different issues and how to tackle them. And one thing in all the solutions which you mentioned, what I caught was about giving up some of the luxuries which we have, right? Use of air conditioners only when required, use of refrigerator only when required, use of electricity only when required. And so you as a forest officer will be very happy to know, you mentioned about paperless. At Best Innovation University, we have a complete paperless administration. We use our ERP tools to manage our administration, and also the learning is delivered over through the web and through the cloud. So this way, I think we are contributing in our own small way. Thank you very much, sir. A very important message which you gave. I think all the audience who here love the address, and many more who are listening to us over the social media platforms. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm even more excited to hear the other speakers. I would like to apologize to other speakers that there is a slight change in the schedule as one of the speakers has a time issue and they've requested to be the second on the second note. So I humbly apologize for the speakers who were in the line. We are not following the schedule. Slightly changes there. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite our next speaker for the day. That is Miss Dorcas Korir. She is presently serving as a director at Nyahururu Water and Sanitation Company. She is also vice president and board of director at Nyahururu. So she's also part of Davis and Shirtlev. I request Ms. Dorcas to kindly address the conference.
Hello, good afternoon. It's quite a pleasure and I'm so happy to be here. I hope I'm audible enough. Maybe just the facilitator can raise a hand to make sure that I'm not alone. Huh? Oh, thank you so much. So I'm Dorcas, as you've heard. I'm from Kenya. I'm so delighted to be here to basically share about the environment, a topic which I'm so passionate about. most of the people, my friends who are watching here today, normally say that it's something which is in my blood. So I did it as a course in campus, but also I'm practicing it day to day, as you've heard. I'm the Vice Chair of Board of Directors, Nyahururu Water and Sanitation Company, where we really look forward to making sure everyone, especially in the villages, get access to clean water. And we make sure that we preserve our water catchment areas. And also, I work with Davies and Shatleaf. Davies and Shatleaf is the leading water company and also energy company in Kenya and also in East Africa. What we do, our day-to-day activities, we try as much as possible to make sure that everyone access clean energy, clean water, and that's part of our lifestyle. So all the viewers plus presenters, let's go into this. So I'll start by sharing. I have very few slides, like 6. I know I have like 10 minutes. I'll try to be as brief as possible. Okay. So at the end of this presentation, I'm going to show us a video which really shows how bad it is if we don't take care of our environment. Remember, one thing I normally say, nature never forgives. And if we really don't take care of our environment, then one day it will really mistreat us. So I know for the past 4 series, we have really talked about the environment conservation, and a lot of speakers, I'm sure they have defined what it is. And basically it's protecting the natural environment and making maximum utilization of the available resources using the 3R principles. These, I think for me, 3R principle is more of like my motto. Like in everything that we have, in the natural resources that we have to make sure that we make maximum utilization of the same, either through reducing the natural resources we use, reusing the materials, or even recycling the materials like rubber and even metals and plastics. Something else I really touch or dwell on as I go on, I'll focus my presentation so much into Kenyan. I'm from Kenya, if I forgot to say that. I'll focus my presentation so much into the Kenyan setup, and we are going to see some of the ways which we have destroyed the environment and how we can come back to the right way. And so I really dwell much on sustainability, whereby I'll talk that this universe is enough for all of us. If only we can be able to have a balance between the Earth's resources, the human needs, and the needs for other species. The problem with human beings, we are so greedy. We want to take up everything and we forget that we have to coexist. I'm so glad for the first speaker who talked about biodiversity. We need to know how to accommodate each and every person. Kenya is a blessed country whereby we have a lot of species of plants, a lot of species of animals, but if we are not careful, we are surely going to destroy our beautiful environment. So I will go straight to why we need to conserve the environment. From my very first slide, you can be able to see the very first slide on my left side on top, I've written Mara River. I know most of us, the speakers and the viewers, we've heard about the 7th wonders of the world, whereby we have wild beasts crossing through the Mara Conservation and going to Tanzania, and they cross through that river. That river used to be overflowing with water. Currently it's overflowing because they have a lot of rain, but that particular picture you are seeing there, it was taken back in 2018. This is because people have destroyed the very natural resources like the forest. We have a forest we call Mau Forest, which is the main catchment area for this river. But because people have been encroaching it, people have been burning charcoals, people have been practicing agriculture, developing the place, now we end up having dry rivers. Of course, if you have dry rivers, you can be very sure the hippopotamus and the crocodiles which were there, they end up dying, which is not a good thing for this country. And then you have the second photo, which it was dated on 30th April 2016. This was a very sad event, especially for the conservation people like myself. This was back in 2016, where Kenya banned a whole 105 tons of elephant tusks. That is that was about 5% of the world's stockpile of ivory. You can imagine, by the time you're having 105 tons of tusks, how many elephants have been killed through poaching, which actually is illegal. You can be able to see from that photo the amount of wastage. So the reason I'm saying why conservation, as we go through these slides, as we go through webinars, we really need to think. of our actions before we do them. Because if we continue doing this, our children will not have, they'll be hearing stories about elephants. They will not be seeing those elephants. And I quoted there a quote from Wangari Maathai. I believe almost every one of us, when you're talking about Earth, you know about Wangari Maathai, a professor who is actually my mentor, and I envy her a lot. She's the late. She said, we owe it to ourselves and to the next generation to conserve the environment so that we can bequeath our children a sustainable world that benefits all of us. You know, the current life we're living right now, or the current environment we're living right now, it's not ours. It's not like we borrowed it from our ancestors. No, we have actually borrowed it from our children, and we have to take care of it so that we can hand it over to the next generation in good shape. There is another photo which is a very sad state. That's a tree which was actually fell in one of the beautiful mountains we're going to see next in the next slide. That is deforestation taking place in our biggest mountain, that is Mount Kenya, which used to be a very beautiful mountain, eye-attracting. But currently, when you look at it, you feel just sorry for it. So what do we need to do? We need to adapt mechanism of taking care of our environment. Because if we don't do that, the things you're seeing in this slide will really happen. This is not specific for Kenyan alone. It can happen anywhere. It can happen to India. It can happen to US or everywhere else. So we really need to conserve our environment if we need to coexist. I'll move forward to another sad story or another sad picture. The first picture you're seeing is for Mount Kenya, the one I'm talking about. Some years back, I was not able to capture the year which that photo was taken, but you can see a very beautiful layer of the Lewis Glacier. For those who read history, that the glaciers you see, we have several glaciers in Mount Kenya, and that's part of one of the beautiful photo you can see. Those were a long time ago, but if you go now, right now, the picture you're seeing on my right, it was just taken the other day, 2018. The glaciers have melted away. And some researchers were trying to think, why is this happening? And of course, it's all due to the destruction of the catchment area, the agricultural practices, which are not well regulated and managed. People want to get into the forest, get into the mountains, encroach it. People want to construct tall buildings there. People want to get hotels inside there. But it's until we as environmentalists will wake up and stand in the gap and stop all these things, then we can have our environment and our beautiful universe as before. So when you see those two photos, it looks like two different places, but it's actually the same place. One of the main effects of having such a scenario is whereby the rivers which were getting water from that mountain are drying up slowly and slowly. And this is increasing poverty in the areas around that mountain. And one of the guys was saying that the water level in some of Mount Kenya's most important rivers have decreased significantly over the past few years, partly due to climate change. Yes, we agree. And a mix of indiscriminate destruction of catchment areas, which is a big problem to all of us, and also the unchecked agricultural activities. So if we are to change the narratives, then we really need to look at that. This is another, I know most of us have seen this. I've talked about Nairobi National Park and all that. When people talk of Kenya, I'm sure even the people who are viewing today, if you hear of Kenya, what comes first into your mind is that it's a beautiful land with animals. We have wild animals roaming around. I'm telling you for fact that this is very true. We are actually blessed. And one of the most beautiful places is the Nairobi National Park. Actually, it's the oldest. Sorry, someone is speaking?
Time check. We have 1 more minute to go. Sorry, you can continue.
Okay. So anyway, this is now the impact. If you construct the things, if you construct the, I'll just stop sharing, but and conclude. So I was saying, if you need to make this environment a good place, there are remedies which we need to take place. Sorry, I had promised to share a video, but don't worry. I wanted to show you a river Nairobi. You can check it later how Nairobi River has really been polluted. So guys, what I was here to say.
Showing the video as well. We would love to see and watch the video.
Sorry?
We would love to watch the video, Dorcas. Maybe after the third speaker completes, we will play the video for you today.
It's all right, no problem. It will be a 2-minute video, so I'll share with you and then you can see it. So my good friends, we need to take care of the environment. I've already said that we need to stop talking about climate change, but start action. The time to act is now, and we need to wake up and stand in the gap. Thank you very much. I believe we'll have more time to interact, and if time allows, we can watch that video so that it can create some sense into us that we need to stand up and act. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dorcas. Very sorry for cutting you short. We would love to hear more from you.
Right.
Right. See, the entire time you were talking, I mean, it was so much personal, right? Like you said, it is a personal responsibility. The passion with which you care for the environment was all visible to all of us. I'm sure many of us, all the students and many people watching here can take an inspiration from that. Thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing that video if time permits.
It's all right. I'll share the link to maybe the Chancellor.
Right. And also you mentioned, I think after this, I'll call our next speaker, a Native American saying that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We actually borrow it from our children. That's a very important. One of my favorite quotes by the Native Americans. Thank you very much for mentioning that.
You're welcome.
Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ms. Dorcas Korir. Now, I would like to invite our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen. That is Mr. Rahul Goswami. He is an advisor to India's Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change on the place of agroecology in sustainable use of natural resources. He has trained and advised government officials, researchers, traditional knowledge bearers. Earlier, he worked with the Ministry of Agriculture on revitalization of agriculture extension through participatory methods. I request Mr. Rahul Goswami ji to kindly address the conference.
Please unmute yourself, Rahul ji. We cannot hear you.
I think there's a microphone you could mute and unmute it. And also in the browser on the top, if you could allow the microphone, it would be wonderful. Unfortunately, we cannot hear you, Rahul ji. I think there is some problem with the microphone there because I see you are. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Rahul ji has requested for us to call the next speaker while we fix the microphone issue. Thank you, Rahul ji. We are all eager to hear from you. So we'll come back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I would like to invite our next speaker. Our next speaker is Ms. Annabelle Gishore. She's the founder of...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't think Annabelle has been here today for the conclave, for the conference. She had an emergency, so she's not here.
Okay.
So Rahul is the last speaker. We have to sort out his technical issue.
Okay, Rahul ji, we'll connect with you, sir, in sorting the technical issue. This is an opportunity for us, ladies and gentlemen, to see the video from Ms. Dorcas. Ms. Dorcas, if you could present your video, what we could do is, in the meanwhile, we'll connect with Rahul ji and fix the microphone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me try, see if, I think it's here. Okay. I don't know whether we'll hear the voice, but...
River in Nairobi.
Yes, we hear the voice.
Just one of the waterways in the Kenyan capital choking under pollution. Now it's being cleaned up as part of a regeneration program funded by the Nairobi County government.
In the past, we even had water for vehicles and industrial waste has been,
including a recent outbreak of cholera. It has also stopped economic activities such as fishing and is hurting the tourism industry, according to officials. Local government also says part of the problem is due to a population boom.
The Nairobi County has one of the largest populations in Africa. We have 6 million people in Nairobi at night and 8 million people in Nairobi during the day. This pressure of urbanization and the growth in the economy of Nairobi has led to activities that have continually led to pollution of our environment.
The Kenyan government says it's cracking down on those behind the pollution. Over the past month, the National Environment, but the people cleaning the waterways say the problem is not just ordinary pollution.
It's not just normal waste that we have to deal with. We even discover animal carcasses and human remains. Recently, we discovered 6 bodies dumped in this river.
Nairobi County officials say at least 14 bodies have been found so far, and even fetuses and medical waste from illegal clinics. The Nairobi can spend up to $3 million in the current regeneration program. Adeshewa Josh, TRT World.
So actually, as you can see, that used to be a very clean river, feeding one of the biggest cities we have in the country. But currently, that's the situation, but we are trying our best to bring it back to the state. So we better take care of the environment before it treats us abnormally. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, we can hear Rahul ji.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Right on time, Rahul ji. We can hear you now.
Good.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to give you a call there.
Okay. Well, namaste and good afternoon to everybody, and thank you, Dr. Vasudevan and Dr. Maheshwar, and to Best Innovation University for having me on this panel. And what I'd like to do is spend about 2/3 of the time telling you, or rather giving you of the insights which I have gained through my work on traditional knowledge systems, and also through working with UNESCO Asia, and also working with 2 ministries, most recently the Ministry of Environment, and before that the Ministry of Agriculture. In both cases, dealing with what we normally call traditional knowledge systems, although I have to say that this is a term that doesn't do justice to what is actually meant by it. And the last part, I'll spend the last 2 minutes explaining to you a little bit about what we are doing, which relates to what Harikiranji said at the start of this seminar on the Center for Indigenous Sustainability. So to begin with, what I usually do is I use a presentation in the old-fashioned way, not PowerPoints. And so I'm going to show you various things. Here's the first thing I'm going to show you. Try not to get distracted by the plastic. I use plastic so that you can see what's inside. Do you know what this is? I live in the western state of Goa, and this is unhusked rice. This is one of our local varieties of rice, which is rarely grown now. And I'm showing this to you because it still has the husk on it, which is the brown coating. That means it's unpolished. It hasn't gone to the mill. This brown coating is what contains most of the good stuff, what the Western world calls protein. Now I'm going to show you something else. This is a piece of stone which you will find in many parts of India on the west coast, in belts around the peninsular India and all the way until the east coast. This is called laterite. It is very rich in iron. Now the reason I'm showing you this is in order to make the connection between the husk of the rice and the stone. What is the connection? The connection is this, that these stones are used to make walls. These walls are the walls that surround orchards which are on slopes. These are also walls that surround the canals and the waterways between fields, and they are also walls between our estuaries and the rivers. So we have 3 or 4 different kinds of walls. Each of these different kinds of walls uses this stone. And what gives it the strength is the mixture that is made, which uses the husk of the rice and the clay that is removed from upriver. Each of these represents a particular kind of knowledge, and it is not any rice that can be used as the cementing agent or as the mortar agent for any kind of wall. If it has to keep the tidal water out of the fields, a particular husk has to be used. If it is meant to be used on a wall that is on a slope and which must bear the weight of the soil, which turns to slurry during the monsoon, which means it becomes very heavy, another type of rice is to be used. So if you think about it, these are apparently very simple structures, but indeed they're extremely complex. They use simple materials, but they combine those simple materials in complex ways, all of which have come through generations of trial and error and generations of being able to experiment on the site with the risk borne by either the farmer or the orchard keeper. So this is one of the exhibits I have. The second exhibit is this. Some of you may be familiar with this and some may not be familiar with this. This is rope made out of coconut coir. As you know, especially for those who live or anywhere near a coast, coconut coir is abundant. When it is collected and the strands have this wonderful property, when they are adjacent to each other, they are able to connect with each other almost like the Velcro of our modern era. And they are twisted on very simple machines, which are made in our local ITIs, and twisted and rolled into these long ropes. These are incredibly strong. And the reason they are preferred is because when they get wet or when they are moistened by either a drizzle or rain, they in fact become stronger. This particular coil is barely about 4 millimeters thick. But we do still on the coast, we do still have heavy rope, which is about 2.5 to 3 centimeters in cross section, which are used still today to anchor some of the larger vessels to the quays to prevent them from floating away. So these are extremely tough ropes. Now what is the lesson of this? The lesson is that this comes from a tree which gives us from every single part, whether the fronds, the shell, the coconut flesh itself, the water, the trunk of the coconut, and its bark. It gives us useful items. We can use these as craft, as utility goods, and of course we use this as food. And far more importantly, which relates to what Dr. Vasudevan said right at the beginning concerning food and culinary traditions, it gives us coconut oil. And coconut oil is one of the most wonderful oils that we are fortunate to have in India. And all this really comes from just one tree. It's a remarkable tree. Now I'm going to show you something which will be less familiar to most of you. And I'm going to have to turn my camera part of this laptop down so you can see what this is. Can you see? All right. Any identify this, I'm going to send you a free coconut.
Yes, please. I think we have a. Yes.
It is Sapindus emarginatus.
Can you say that in normal English, please?
Looks like shikakai.
Very good.
Yeah, the botanical name is Sapindus emarginus. Sorry.
So this is what we call the soap nut. Or in many parts of India, this is called Rita or Arita. Now this is part of a great sack of the seeds which I collected during February and March, because where we live, we have a tree right outside our compound, and it falls in copious quantities. Went and collected them every single day. This is an exceptionally valuable seed, the Arita. I think all the women who prefer making their own shampoo will be looking for Arita round the year. Well, if you want some seeds, then please do get in touch. I'll be happy to send you a few, provided you plant half of them. Okay. And finally, exhibit number 3. Exhibit number 3 is something that unfortunately is in a plastic container. I wish it wasn't, but the plastic container is useful because there are explanatory texts written on it. As you can see, one says ashwagandha and the other says turmeric. And this is an example. This is an example of how our products, which are medicinal in nature, have become household staples and very important also in terms of income generation for those who are able to collect them. Right. So with the use of these props, this actually is my favorite, with the use of these props, what I've been able to do is to show you that nature in its simplicity has really given us everything that we need. And the lesson of being given everything that we need is only half a lesson, because the rest of it has to do with the knowledge system that we inherit, provided we recognize it and provided we know what to do with it. Much of this relates to 3 areas, which hopefully some of this have described. Those 3 areas are Ayurveda, or the systems of medicine, agriculture and cultivation, provided again that your soil is uncontaminated by petrochemical fertilizer and by chemical pesticide, provided it is that. And the third is craft and weave. So handicraft, hand weaves, and what until about 50 years ago used to be called household industries, by which was meant all the little items that were needed, especially for use in the fields, all the metal work, all the woodwork, all the work of making cartwheels and repairing them, all that. So these are the three areas in which rural India, village India excelled. Much of what we call innovation today and what we have called innovation for the last 15 or 20 years has been connected with the mechanized, electronic, fossil fuel-based idea of development. This, I would really suggest to you, is a very, very myopic view of innovation. The innovation that we have been given as knowledge system, in fact, comes from the experience and the insight gathered over hundreds of generations, far longer than recorded history. And it is because we have lost sight of that, and also because we have lost the ability to value it, that rice varieties such as this are on the point of growing extinct if they are not carefully looked after. 30 years ago in Goa, where we live, there used to be, amongst the many varieties of local rice, there used to be 22 which could grow in saline conditions. In saline conditions alone, not 22 varieties, in saline conditions alone. So there were many more varieties. Some of them grew up on the west-facing slopes of the Western Ghats until a height of about 3,500 feet. And this you see also in the northeast. You see it in the Eastern Ghats as well. You see it in part of the Nilgiri and Annamalai hills. So we have this wonderful rice diversity, the very existence of which is practically unknown today. And that is why I was delighted to hear Dr. Vasudevan mention community seed banks, what we would be called Bij Bhandaran centers, where these are maintained, hopefully in the way that they always were, either in pots or in baskets, which have been sealed with cow dung and a mixture of clay, preferably with some of the local anti-pesticidal leaves put in, and which would be exchanged as a matter of course during the months when they are meant to be taken out and prepared for the nursery beds. This is exceptionally important. I'm going to finish in exactly half a minute. The three parts that I mentioned to you, medicine, Ayurveda, crafts and hand weaves, by which is meant really essentially cotton that comes not from BT cotton, but from the Deshi kapas. And the third, Jaivik Krishi. So agriculture, traditional agriculture. These are the three pillars of the Center for Indigenous Sustainability, which is the center under the Indic Academy, which has started only this year. I am an advisor to the center, and one of the main programs that we have until the middle of the next year, 2021, is the research fellowships. 8 have been given. We are open to taking several more, provided you follow one of these pillars. And I think with that, I will conclude. I hope that's given you a decent enough introduction to what we've been doing, what I have been trying to do over the last 25 years. 15 minutes is certainly not enough. If you can give me a week, I'll be happy. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in another edition of your wonderful webinar.
Thank you very much, Rahul Goswami. I think we would not just a week, sir. You asked for a month. We are ready to give it to you. I think you are welcome. It was a practical exposure to things which we see and which are essential for us. I mean, what the nature has enabled to us. So you exhibited things, and also you did very smart thing over there, where you promoted the good thing of planting of those Rita seeds, and you said half of it has to be planted. I think this rewarding atmosphere is something that will bring about the right change which is required in today's times. So you spoke about having the practical approach, which takes forward the traditional knowledge, to the future generations. That was very good. So also you'll be very happy to learn that I have a student I'm very proud to mention. I always talk about all the innovative students. There is a student called K. Vaishnavi from Kurnool in Andhra Pradesh. She has come up with a biofertilizer using banana peels. And she exhibited this to in an international conference, and she received a good ovation. That I thought, you'd be happy to know that we have youngsters over here as well who are trying to learn. I think sessions like this, more sessions from you, would empower them to do and exhibit more to the world. Thank you very much, Rahulji. We were delighted to hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic session we had today, and we had wonderful speakers from all over. Before I call upon our senior advisor Ji, I just want to mention one thing, that trees are a poem the earth writes across the sky. Humanity cuts them down for paper so we may record our emptiness. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I request Dr. Manmohan Singh Ji, the Senior Advisor to Best Innovation University and former Special Chief Secretary to the Andhra government, to present the concluding remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Shazil. It was really a very great session, very enlightening, and all the speakers spoke from their heart. Most, very dear subject to all the speakers, and really it was very enlightening, and this will be very useful session for our students as well as our faculty members. Today we had very eminent speakers. Harikaran Ji in the beginning told about his Indic Academy, what they are doing about traditional knowledge and how they are the largest global organization, having so many countries, their platforms, and they are doing so many ways promoting traditional knowledge by giving scholarships, grants, and really it's a great effort. I must appreciate their great work being done in this direction. And our speaker, Mr. Prakash Ji, IFS officer, Chief Conservator of Forest from Karnataka. He has also spoken what are leading to environmental degradation and what are the solutions also. He has listed out how we can conserve, protect our environment and live happily in the nature. Similarly, the presentation by Dorcas from Kenya was really how she has told about biodiversity, animals, plants, river, and glacier also. I was not knowing that Kenya could have glacier. It was a very revealing for me. I thought it's a very hot country and may not be having snow-clad mountains. Really, it was really very good session by her. She has given 3 principles: reduce, reuse, and recycle. That is how we can protect our environment. And our last speaker, Mr. Rahul Goswami, very eminent speaker, UNESCO Asia expert. He has shown the samples also how unpolished rice looks like, because most of us have forgotten. Over a period of time, we have gone for more and more white rice, more and more shining rice, and we take pride in buying those shining rice and refined oil or whatnot. We are totally digressed from the nature and what is good for our health also we have forgotten. So I was just thinking by listening all our eminent speakers, the education system which the Britishers have given us has really disconnected our heart from our head. Because everything which is very true, which is the truth of life, comes from our heart. But our head thinks too much about our future, our greed, our so many things. And we get overpowered by the head and suppress our feeling which is coming from our heart. I'm sure everyone must be feeling when they kill an animal, everything, something must be coming to their heart that something wrong has happened. But then we overpower. No, nothing. Let us go ahead. Chalta hai. So that connection between head and heart, that is the thing at the root of the whole problem which I could see here. And new education policy of 2020, I'm sure they have thought about it and something they are thinking about traditional knowledge, traditional system, bringing back our old wisdom. So let us hope in our education system, we need to promote that and give prominence to our heart, the feeling which comes from the heart. And Best Innovation University, as Madam Rupa was telling, will like to spearhead this campaign. And the conservation, the collaboration, and innovation, these are the three pillars of Innovation University, Anantapur. We'll definitely like to take help of all of you, very senior people. We'd like to associate with all of you and do this awareness program in campaign mode with your help. So I thank, it was a very, very enlightening session today. I thank all our respected speakers who have come over here and spared their time and spoken to all our students, our participants, and our faculty members. I also thank our chairman, Dr. B.L. Minaji, who is always giving his mature advice how this university should spearhead these campaigns, and Chancellor Dr. Rupa Vasudevan ji, who in the beginning has set the tone for this very important webinar, and she has told, last time she was telling about Gandhiji, how simplicity in our life can reduce much of our problem. Simple living and high thinking. That's what is missing in new generation. So I thank our Chancellor Rupaji, and I also thank our Vice Chancellor, Dr. D.R. Maheshwarji, and today's moderator, Mr. Shazil, and our international guest, Dr. Ayla Al-Jufri from Indonesia, Ambassador Alice Kamunge from Africa, and other dignitaries from Africa who are participating. I also thank our faculty members and all the students who have spared their time and participated. I'm very sure that they would have been highly benefited by this very useful webinar. So with this, we would like to conclude this session. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Prakash sir. Thank you very much, Prakash sir.
Thank you so much.
Mana